Life is Strange Before the Storm has a difficult job ahead of it, tackling a beloved universe and characters that fans are incredibly attached to. It's hard work delivering a prequel that brings both the new and the familiar to the table, walking the fine line between fan service and did we really need to know that? But you know, I think Deck 9 might be onto something. Here are 12 new things for you to mull over before the release of Episode 1 in August.
I feel numb.
The ending to the story is something even die-hard Life is Strange fans won't be able to guess, so say the writers. And it isn't Rachel's disappearance, because the events take place some time before that happens. The events of the first game happen when Chloe is 19. We're moving far backward enough so that the terminus of our story is not Rachel's disappearance, lead writer Garriss told us. That's not the story we're telling here. We're living in this ambiguous space, the conclusion of which even die-hard fans of the first game won't know. They won't be able to anticipate because Chloe never talks about it. Could that be how exactly she gets kicked out of Blackwell Academy? Basically, Before the Storm takes place when Chloe is 16, which is just 2 years after Chloe's dad, William, dies in a car crash, so we know that is a lot fresher in her mind, which will surely spill into how she deals with everyone around her. The Deck 9 team have been working on Before the Storm for just over a year, and they had pretty much free reign with the story they wanted to tell. Garriss said it's a constant dialogue with Square Enix, around what we want to do with Frank, what we want to do with David, what we want to do with Joyce. And that's one of the best things about the partnership with Square, for us as developers, is how much they care and how precious they are with Life is Strange. But at the end of the day, they really encouraged us to find the version of Before the Storm that we were most passionate about as developers. In Before the Storm, Chloe is writing letters to Max. Just like Max's journal in the original Life is Strange, Chloe's letters to Max give us an additional insight into her account of events and her perspective on what is happening. Deck 9 said that it didn't see Chloe as the type of person who would keep a diary, so her version of that mechanic is a series of letters that she's writing to Max after Max has left Arcadia Bay for Seattle with her family. However, and this is the really heartbreaking bit, Max hasn't been replying. As we know from the original game, she wasn't good at keeping in touch with Chloe. So, these unanswered and unsent letters become a diary of sorts. And although it's more about finding out what Chloe is thinking, it ensures Max's presence is always felt in Before the Storm. It also makes Chloe seem even more alone, writing to her best friend during tough times and never getting a response. How could you, Max? Episode 1 will have 11 scenes in total, and it looks like it begins in the club that we see in the released demo gameplay, according to screenshots of scripts shown in a behind-the-scenes video from Deck 9. Other scenes will take place in the Price household, Blackwell, the school bus, and several scenes in both the junkyard and some mysterious dream sequences. Don't worry though, Deck 9 have promised there are no bottle collecting minigames. And apparently, in the sequence we've seen where Chloe tries to cheer Rachel up, she can decide, or at least at one point she could have decided, to chase after some squirrels, instead of handing Rachel the baseball bat. Getting into the club we see her in looks like it will be tricky, as she has a bit of an altercation with a bouncer and some fake ID. Ashley Birch didn't voice Chloe this time around due to complications with voice actor strikes, but she was sent every script edit and even visited Deck 9's studio in Colorado. Garriss told us she asked to join as a story consultant. She's a fantastic writer. She works on Adventure Time and other materials. Every single line of dialogue, from high-level story concept to any little VO line, we've shared with Ashley. We talk with her frequently. We've had her out to the studio in Colorado. She's really become a huge voice towards shaping Chloe at this particular time in her life. So in that regard, we've been ecstatic about getting her involved with the story. For most Life is Strange fans, Ashley will always be Chloe, but in my opinion the difference in voice isn't as striking as it could have been, given that it is a different time in her life and she's going through some difficult changes. Mind you, Chloe's new voice actor is also her mocap artist, so it'll be interesting to see how one actor, taking on both the voice and physicality of the role, will change things up. Deck 9 has an in-house mocap studio, confirmed Garriss, and he said, "We do our mocap in-house with our cinematic director working with the actors through all of their motion capture. Rihanna DeVries was the physical embodiment of Chloe before she was cast as the VO actor for Chloe, so we had a lot of tests with a lot of different actresses embodying the part. She handled both the physicality of Chloe and the personality in vocal performances. She was a natural. A stronger link between what Chloe is saying and what she's actually doing might make for a more cohesive performance." And on a slightly different note, so far it looks like the lip syncing is more on point in this game. Throughout the game, there will be optional moments that Chloe can share with Rachel, which are totally subject to player choice and player agency. We don't know very much about these yet, but they sound like they'll be specifically for those players who just want a little bit of extra character insight and lore. Maybe it'll form an incidental running side narrative, kind of like Alyssa not getting hit by stuff in the original game was. Obviously, it'll be down to players to decide for themselves whether Chloe and Rachel's relationship was a platonic friendship or something more. So maybe these scenes will be a bit of fan service in that sense.
Let me know when you figure out which one.
Just kiss.
Frank Bowers?
As well as recurring characters like Frank and Joyce and David, there will be totally new characters to meet, Garriss says. We're looking at Chloe's life as a sophomore at Blackwell. So we're going to be in that space that's going to be familiar, but different. Victoria Chase is a sophomore. She's not a senior. She's not running the place. She's climbing the ladder, stabbing backs or whatever. So there are a number of characters you will encounter that you will recognize for sure from the first game. Some of them have elaborate running threads throughout all 3 episodes. But at the same time, it was really important for us to introduce new characters in Blackwell and in Arcadia Bay to increase the diversity of the community, to increase the breadth and depth of those personalities. We already know that Frank is one of those recurring characters, and given how interestingly complex his relationships are with both Rachel and Chloe, he's definitely a welcome addition.
Come on, man!
You either know this or not, Max. Is there anybody here who knows their stuff?
Jefferson has not yet arrived at Blackwell Academy, as Deck 9 co-game director Chris Floyd confirmed in a livestream, so don't expect to see him at all in Before the Storm. Floyd also stated that Kate would not be featured in their story. Nathan makes an appearance, and you can catch a quick glimpse of him in one of the trailer montages. Although it makes sense to omit Jefferson and Kate so as to better concentrate on a new story, it's kind of a shame we won't get to see them going about like normal, seeing them in a different time, knowing everything that happens later. Like the original Life is Strange, Before the Storm is still a mystery story at its core, confirms Garriss, and that will take the form of an investigative angle. We really don't know what that mystery is yet, but it seems like it may have something to do with whatever Rachel Amber sees through the telescope with Chloe at the Overlook. Possibly her father having an affair? Speaking of Rachel, she isn't how we expected her to be. The truth to who she is, I think, is going to be even more meaningful, Garriss says. She's top of the social ladder. She's the most beautiful person. She can charm everybody. That's interesting, and there's a power there, but it's not extremely human. And what we're really wanting to unearth and expose is, even the perfect girl is broken, and even the broken girl, Chloe, has strength. And so we really see a chance to explore the really unique ways in which the two girls can be something unique to each other. That can really, we hope, speak to the human connection. What it's like to have that one person show up at a particular moment in your life when you need them. It can be everything. Playing Chloe is a very different experience to playing Max. She doesn't have Max's rewind power, one, because obviously it wouldn't fit in the timeline, but also because Deck 9 didn't believe it represented her. Max's power was very much an extension of Max's character. She's cautious and methodical. Chloe, on the other hand, is impulsive and aggressive. The fact she doesn't overthink or regret pretty much anything she does is an important part in what makes her Chloe. And without a chance to do over things, maybe players will have to think more carefully and use Chloe's unique social skills instead. There are things that Chloe would do that Max would never, like stealing money from a bootlegger, and that gives players more free rein to roleplay as a character with very different values. But even though you don't have a rewind power, Deck 9 has said there will be plenty of strangeness in Before the Storm, and maybe even, in the studio's own words, a touch of the supernatural that is going to make fans really happy, and they are going to have a field day talking about it online. Interesting. It's also interesting to note that just like the doe in the original game, which showed up at important moments for Max and even featured on her clothing, Chloe's totem crow has featured several times in trailers and gameplay shown off already, in key scenes and on her clothes. Of course, some fans believe that the blue butterfly from the original game may have been Chloe's spirit animal, or that the doe may have been Rachel Amber's. But in any case, it makes for a lot of interesting discussion and dissection later on. In my opinion, the doe is indeed representative of Max, guiding her when she needs it. And I think the butterfly, a nod to the butterfly effect and also symbolic of metamorphosis and change, could be either Rachel or Chloe. Is Rachel's feathered earring she always wears a connection of sorts to crows too? Spirit animals and Native American beliefs were strong thematic elements of the first game. Perhaps that will be a running theme throughout all Life is Strange games, and it'll carry on even into the sequel with all new characters and locations. Anyway, that's most of what we've uncovered so far. Do you have any predictions or observations of your own to add? Let us know, as we're always down for a bit of Life is Strange theorizing. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Pretend you found somebody to mend you. I feel numb. I feel numb.